Hello everybody. Here's the first little tutorial on how to get started with the multi-channel sound system. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to hear the sound that I'm playing at the moment because of the way that the speakers are set up, but I'm just going to show you how to get started because the RME interface can be really confusing. So first of all, get in the studio, connect your computer. You can use a computer here, which also may need to go through the same process. But if you are working from your own computer, you want to go to the RME website and download the drivers it is the Fireface UCX. I'm on Windows, so I went here and I just got the drivers, USB, and you just download the first driver, and you don't need the flash update or anything like this. So get the drivers, install it. You may need to restart your computer. And what's going to happen is, as long as the USB is plugged in, as long as the Fireface is plugged in, it should pop up this little window that looks like this. This is the RME Total Mix Effects. This is the kind of routing station for all things related to the sound card. And this is actually surprisingly confusing, and odds are it's not going to be set up properly when you get in here. But in order to just test it, the first thing you're going to want to do is go into a DAW of your choice. I'm showing you an Ableton, I'm showing you an Ableton, but of course it's a similar process no matter what you're doing. So go to your menu, to your preferences, and just make sure that you have the right sound card set up. So for a Windows computer, it's ASIO, Fireface USB. I'm going to go in here into the configuration, output configuration, and just make sure that you have a bunch of these checked. You could go through and check them all, why not? And this is important just so that you're telling your computer, you're telling Ableton that you have all these outputs. You can do that with inputs too, but we're not actually using the inputs at the moment, so I don't think it's necessary. So once that's set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these and just make one track. And the first thing I want to do is just test to make sure that the sound card is working, that all the speakers are properly routed, and that we're getting audio to them. So I'm going to do this with a little drum beat because I find it a little bit easier to tell what's going on. I'm going to create a loop, and maybe I'll do, let's do a snare. It'll get annoying, but I'll just do one snare on a loop. And in Ableton, you want to make sure your I/O options are available so you can check it out. You actually don't want to send it to the master because the master will just set it to speakers 1 and 2. We're going to want to individually create 8 of these tracks so we can kind of see which speaker is doing what. Instead of master, I'm going to go here, audio to external output. And now I have this drop-down menu where I could specify which speaker exactly. So at the moment, I don't want to deal with stereo pairs. I just want to do single speakers. So I'm just going to send this snare to speaker number 1. Okay, I'm going to press play here. And at the moment, the way that it's set up is speaker number 1 is to the front right of where I am. Okay, stop that. And I'm just going to go here and I'm going to duplicate this to create a second one. I want to set this to send to speaker 2. And actually I can press play on it now. And I can hear it coming out of both speakers. But what might be a little bit easier to deal with is instead of having them both play at the same time, I'm going to offset this snare by 2/16. So now when I press play, I'll hear speaker 1, then speaker 2 right after it. So I'm going to want to go ahead and duplicate this again. For number 3, I want it to send to speaker number 3. Fourth one, I want to send to speaker 4, and I'm going to offset this again. So I'm doing it with 8th notes, so I want the 3rd one to be there, and I want the 4th one to be there. So actually you can see if I select them all, we're really just getting steady 8th note snare, but it's going to go speaker 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way up to 8. So let's duplicate this. Take this guy. I wonder actually, can I? No, I don't know if I can do that. Okay, So number 5, we set it to speaker 5, 6 to speaker 6, 7 to speaker 7, and 8 to speaker 8. Now I'm going to also want to offset these. So this will be all the way over there. This will be all the way over here. This will be all the way here. And last but not least, this one will be all the way here. So if I select all these, you can see I just have solid eighth notes, but it's going to alternate speakers. So now if I press play, I can hear the snare drum going around me in a circle. And at the moment it's working right, but odds are for you it's not going to work right. And that's where the RME total mix comes in. It's a very confusing interface. But once you understand how it works, it's actually pretty simple. So essentially, at the bottom here, you have all your different outputs, your main outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your main is actually should be set up to just send to your phones, to the headphones. The rest will be the speaker pairs. You'll notice we don't have speakers 7 and 8. That's because this interface has 6 outputs and then a phone's output, and the phones are 7 and 8. So even though you've set it up to each one of these go out of a separate speaker, these are kind of like virtual speakers, and these are associated with these up here. So like for instance, if I press play here, speed it up, you can see them going here. And they have their own individual volume levels. I'm going to kind of ignore that a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you the way to route it. Sorry, it's hard to talk about because it's really confusing. So by clicking on the actual these outputs here, you can select which ones of these are sending to that particular one. So for instance, at the moment, when I click on analog output 1 and 2, keep the volume here at 0, whichever ones of these are raised will go to that speaker. So like at the moment, now if I press play, you'll see that it's getting, this one moves for this one, and this one. But really, I just want it to move for this one. So now it's just going that. Check this one. I already fixed these, so I don't need to refix it, but you may need to kind of change some of these. So 3 and 4 should only have 3 and 4 raised. If you double click, it goes to 0. 5 and 6 should have 5 and 6. And the one that's probably messed up for you is the mains. The mains should be phones 7 and 8. I may not have done the best job of explaining that, but that's how it works. You want all of these to be up, and then these ones you need to click on the individual tracks in order to send which ones go to which. I have a feeling my logic about it is a little off, but it works. So once you have all that set up, just let this play for a little while, move around the room, try to make sure that everything's doing the right thing. It's really easy to get things duplicated on different speakers, and it's really easy for the speaker arrangement to be slightly off. So yeah, just take time walking around the room, checking the speakers, see what works, see what doesn't. There may be some volume problems, so also you can go back to behind the speakers and make sure they're all set to the same setting, because people come in and they fuck with things a lot. So that is a tutorial on how to set up the speakers. Most people, the first time you work in the studio, the first hour or two is like setting up the speakers. So hopefully this can help you get everything set up right. Okay.